Commander Vextai walked down the long metal hallway of the detention center. His blue scales caught the harsh light from above. Each step made a soft clicking sound on the floor. He had done this walk many times before. Today would be no different. At least that's what he thought. The human prisoner waited in cell 7. Vextai had read her file. Sergeant Kira Blackwood, Special Forces, captured 3 days ago on the colony world of Haven 7. The report said she fought like a wild animal before they finally brought her down. Typical human behavior, he thought. They always fought when they should surrender. Vextai stopped at the heavy door. The guard, a young Zephyrian named Dexol, stood at attention. His purple eyes showed nervousness. Most guards felt uneasy around human prisoners. Humans had a reputation for being unpredictable. Has she spoken yet? Vextai asked. No, sir. She just sits there, stares at the wall. Sometimes she looks at the cameras like she knows we're watching. Vextai nodded. Open it. The door slid open with a quiet hiss. Vextai stepped inside. The cell was small and white. A metal bench sat against one wall. A human female sat on it. Her hands were bound with energy restraints that glowed blue around her wrists. Kira Blackwood looked nothing like what Vextai expected. Her tactical gear was torn and stained with blood. Some of it looked fresh. Some looked old. A cut ran across her left cheek. Bruises covered her arms, but her eyes were clear and sharp. They followed Vextai as he entered. She was smaller than most humans he had seen, maybe 5.5 feet tall. Her hair was black and cut short, but something about the way she sat made Vextai pause. She looked calm, too calm for someone in her situation. I am Commander Vextai, he said in standard galactic language. All humans learned it in their schools. You will answer my questions. Kira said nothing. She just looked at him. Her brown eyes seemed to study every detail of his face, his uniform, his movements. It made Vextai uncomfortable. Prisoners were supposed to be afraid. This one looked curious. Vextai sat down across from her. The metal chair felt cold through his uniform. We know you were part of the defense of Haven 7. We know you killed at least 12 of our soldiers. We want to know about your military plans. Still nothing. Kira tilted her head slightly like a predator watching prey. The movement was small but somehow threatening. Your colony is gone, Vextai continued. Your people are dead or captured. Your resistance is over. There is no reason to stay silent. For the first time, Kira's expression changed. Her mouth curved up in what humans called a smile. But it was not a happy smile. It was cold and sharp. Like the edge of a blade. Is that what you think happened? She asked. Her voice was quiet but clear. She spoke perfect galactic standard. No accent at all. Vextai felt a small chill run down his spine. Something in her tone suggested he was missing something important. Our forces took the colony. This is fact. Your forces took a colony, Kira agreed. But not the colony you wanted. Explain. Kira leaned back against the wall. The energy restraints flickered as she moved. Tell me, Commander, how many civilians did you capture? Vextai checked his datapad. 237. How many lived on Haven 7? Intelligence reports indicated 3,000 inhabitants. So where are the other 2,700 people? The question hung in the air like smoke. Vextai felt his confidence slip. They were eliminated during the assault. Really? Kira's smile grew wider. Your soldiers are very thorough. They managed to eliminate exactly 2,700 people without leaving any bodies. Very impressive. Vextai's throat felt dry. Bodies were destroyed by weapons fire. Plasma weapons don't make bodies disappear, Commander. They make them burn. Where's the ash? Where are the bones? Where's any trace of all those dead humans? The room suddenly felt smaller. Vextai looked at his datapad again. The report seemed clear. Total victory. Colony captured. Minimal civilian survivors. But now with this human asking simple questions, nothing made sense. You evacuated them, he said. It was not a question, did we? Kira asked. Or maybe your intelligence was wrong. Maybe Haven 7 never had 3,000 people. Maybe your scouts counted wrong. Maybe humans are better at hiding than you thought. Vextai stood up quickly. His chair scraped against the floor. It doesn't matter. The colony is ours. Your resistance is broken. Commander, can I ask you something? The politeness in her voice was somehow worse than anger would have been. Vextai nodded. How long have your people been at war? The Zephyrian Empire has been expanding for over 2 centuries. We have conquered 47 worlds. I meant real war, not conquest, not taking over worlds that can't fight back. How long since you fought someone who fought back? Vextai opened his mouth to answer, then closed it. The Zephyrians were the strongest military force in this part of the galaxy. Most worlds surrendered when they arrived. Those that didn't fell quickly. Humans have been at war for our entire history, Kira continued. We fight each other. We fight our environment. We fight anything that threatens us. We've been doing it for thousands of years. Every human child grows up hearing stories about war. Every human knows what it means to lose everything and keep fighting anyway. She leaned forward. The restraints glowed brighter as they sensed movement. Your people fight to conquer. Our people fight to survive. Do you know the difference? Vextai sat back down. He was supposed to be in control of this interrogation, but somehow this small human had turned it around. She was asking the questions now. When you fight to conquer, Kira said, you have rules, you have plans, you have limits. When you fight to survive, you have none of those things. You do whatever it takes. You use everything. You sacrifice anything. We are superior warriors, Vextai said, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. Are you? Your soldiers had better weapons, better armor, better ships, better everything. But somehow 12 of them died fighting one human with basic equipment. How do you explain that? Images flashed through Vextai's mind. Battle reports from Haven 7, descriptions of the humans' final stand. Sergeant Blackwood had held a warehouse against an entire squad. She used improvised explosives. She turned the building itself into a weapon. She fought for 6 hours against impossible odds. You fought well, he admitted. I fought like a human, she corrected, and that scared your soldiers. They had never seen anything like it before. They expected me to surrender when I was outnumbered. Instead, I got more dangerous. Vextai looked at her restraints. They were the strongest the Zephyrians had. They could hold beings twice her size. But suddenly he wondered if they were enough. Why did you let us capture you? He asked. Kira's smile returned. Who says I let you do anything? The lights in the cell flickered. Just for a moment. But it was enough to make Vextai's hearts race. Zephyrians had 2 hearts. Right now, both were beating fast. The interrogation is over for today, he said, standing up. Already? But we were just getting to know each other. Vextai walked to the door. As it opened, he looked back. Kira was still sitting on the bench. Still smiling. Still watching him with those sharp brown eyes. Commander, she called out. Tomorrow bring some of your soldiers. The ones who fought humans before. I'd like to hear their stories. The door closed behind him. Vextai stood in the hallway for a long moment. Something was very wrong. He just couldn't figure out what. The next day, Vextai brought Lieutenant Thekmar to the interrogation room. The young officer's scales had lost their bright green color. They looked dull and gray now. His hand shook slightly as he walked. Thekmar had been at the Battle of Kepler Station 2 months ago. He was one of the few survivors. Tell the human about Kepler Station, Vextai ordered as they sat down. Thekmar looked at Kira. She sat in the same position as yesterday. Calm. Watching. Waiting. Her brown eyes fixed on him with interest. I don't like talking about it, Thekmar said quietly. Tell her anyway. Show her what happens when humans fight us. Thekmar took a deep breath. His voice was shaky when he started. Kepler Station was a mining facility. It had maybe 500 humans. We thought it would be easy to take, Kira nodded. Go on. Our fleet arrived with 3 battlecruisers and 12 support ships. The humans had nothing. A few old transport ships, some mining equipment. We demanded their surrender. And they refused. Not just refused. They laughed at us. Over open channels. The whole fleet could hear them laughing. Thekmar's hands clenched into fists. Our admiral was insulted. He ordered immediate assault. We would show them the price of mocking the Zephyrian Empire. How many troops did you send down? Kira asked. 2,000 soldiers. Elite units. The best equipment. We expected to be done in an hour. How long did it actually take? Thekmar was quiet for a long moment. 18 days, Vextai looked surprised. He had read the official reports. They said the battle lasted 3 days. Clearly, the reports were wrong. The humans turned the station into a maze. Thekmar continued. They used mining charges to collapse tunnels behind us. They rerouted the power systems to create electric traps. They filled the air vents with toxic gas from the mining operation. Kira leaned forward slightly. What else? They used everything as a weapon. Mining robots became suicide bombers. Ore crushers became giant traps. They even used the artificial gravity against us. They would shut it off in some sections and turn it up too high in others. Thecamar's voice got quieter, but the worst part was how they fought. Like they had nothing to lose. Like dying meant nothing to them. Tell me about the humans themselves, Kira said. They were wrong. Not wrong like broken equipment. Wrong like they weren't afraid of things they should be afraid of. We had one soldier get surrounded by 20 humans. They didn't kill him quickly. They captured him, tied him up. Then they used him as bait. Vextai felt cold. Bait? They hung him from the ceiling in a main corridor. When our rescue team came, the humans dropped explosives from above, killed 6 soldiers, the prisoner 2. The humans didn't care that their trap killed their own prisoner along with us. They sacrificed him, Kira said. It was not a question, yes. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that the soldier they sacrificed volunteered. We heard the recording later. He asked them to use him as bait. He wanted to die if it meant killing more of us. Thecamar started shaking. What kind of species does that? What kind of people choose to die just to hurt their enemies? The kind that has been fighting for survival for millions of years, Kira answered. What happened next? Our soldiers started to break. Not from the fighting, from the fear. Every corner could be a trap. Every room could be a bomb. Every human could be planning to die just to take one of us with them. Thecamar stood up and started pacing. There was this one human. A woman, she was wounded bad. Plasma burn took off her left arm. But she kept fighting. Used her own blood to blind our soldiers, threw it in their eyes while they were trying to help her. Help her? Kira asked. We're not monsters, Vextai said quickly. Zephyrian military code requires medical assistance for wounded enemies. Kira's mouth curved up in that cold smile again. So you tried to save her life? Yes, and she tried to kill us for it. She had hidden explosives in her wounds. When our medic got close, she triggered them. Killed herself and 2 soldiers. The room was quiet. Vextar could hear the ship's engines humming in the distance. Finally, Kira spoke. What was her name? What? Thecmar stopped pacing. The woman who used herself as a bomb. What was her name? I don't know. Why does it matter? Because she wasn't just a human or the enemy. She was a person. She had a name. Probably had family, friends, people she cared about. People she was trying to protect by killing your soldiers. Kira looked at both of them. You see her as a monster who killed herself to hurt you. She saw herself as someone who gave her life to save others. Do you understand the difference? Thecmar sat back down. She was insane. All of them were insane. No, Kira said firmly. They were human. There's a difference. Explain, Vexatai said. Your people fight wars to expand territory, to gain resources, to show power. When you lose soldiers, it's a military loss. Numbers on a report, Kira's voice got harder. Humans fight wars to protect our families, our homes, our way of life. When we lose people, it's personal. Every death matters. Every sacrifice has meaning. She looked directly at Thecmar. That woman who died wasn't trying to hurt you. She was trying to save her friends, her family, maybe people she had never even met but knew were counting on her. How can you know that? Thecmar asked. Because I knew her. Her name was Sarah Chen. She was a mining engineer, 26 years old, had a daughter back on Earth named Lucy. The room went dead silent. Vextai felt like the air had been sucked out of the space. You were there. I was there, Kira confirmed. I helped plan the defense. I taught Sarah how to hide explosives in wounds. I told her how to use her own blood as a weapon. Thecmar jumped up. You trained them. You turned civilians into killers. I turned miners into soldiers. I gave them the tools they needed to survive against a superior enemy. And it worked, didn't it? Your 2,000 elite troops couldn't take a station defended by 500 miners. Vextai's mouth felt dry. How many of our soldiers died at Kepler Station? Official reports say 400, Kira said. Actual number was closer to 800. Your command doesn't like to admit how badly we hurt you. 800 soldiers, Thecmar whispered. Against miners. Against humans, Kira corrected. Against people who refused to give up. Against mothers and fathers and children who decided that dying free was better than living as slaves. She looked at Vextai. You want to know about human savagery? Here's the truth. We're not savage because we like violence. We're savage because we refuse to quit, ever. No matter the odds. No matter the cost. Why? Vextai asked. Why fight when you cannot win? Because sometimes you can win. Sometimes the impossible becomes possible. And even when it doesn't, at least you die on your feet instead of your knees. Kira's restraints flickered again, just for a moment. But both Zephyrians noticed it this time. Besides, she added with that cold smile, who says we can't win? Thecamar looked pale. The war is over. Your Earth is surrounded. Your colonies are falling one by one. Is that what you think? Kira asked. Tell me, Lieutenant. After Kepler Station, how many mining facilities has your fleet attacked? Thecamar thought about it. None. Command decided they weren't strategic targets. Or maybe Command realized that every mining station could become another Kepler. Every group of civilians could become another nightmare for your soldiers. Vextai understood now. You're not trying to win battles. You're trying to make the war too expensive for us to continue. Every war ends eventually, Kira said. The question is who gets tired first. Your people are fighting for glory and expansion. Our people are fighting for survival. Which side do you think will quit first? The lights flickered again. This time they stayed dim for several seconds before returning to normal. I think this conversation is over, Vextai said, standing up. As they left the cell, Thecamar grabbed Vextai's arm. Commander, something is wrong. The lights. The way she talks. Like she knows something we don't. Vextai nodded. He was thinking the same thing. But he didn't know what to do about it. Behind them, through the closing door, they could hear Kira humming softly. It was a human song. Thecamar recognized it from intelligence briefings. A war song, one that human soldiers sang before battle. The sound followed them down the hallway long after the door had closed. Captain Zorthak entered the interrogation room like a wounded animal. His once proud military bearing was gone. His elite combat armor showed scars from many battles, but the worst damage was in his eyes. They looked hollow, empty, like something inside him had died. Vextai had called for his best warrior. Zorthak had been Special Forces for 20 years. He had conquered dozens of worlds. He was supposed to be unbreakable, but the humans sitting across from them had broken soldiers before. Maybe she could break this one too. Captain, Vextai said, tell our prisoner about New Geneva. Zorthak flinched at the name. His hand started shaking. I don't want to talk about that place. It was a great victory, Vextai pressed. You held the city for the Empire. We held ruins, Zorthak said quietly. Burned ruins full of ghosts. Kira watched the captain with those sharp brown eyes. She looked almost sad, like she understood something the others didn't. How long was the siege? She asked gently. 73 days. Zorthak's voice was barely a whisper. 73 days in hell. Tell me about the beginning. Zorthak sat down heavily. New Geneva was a major human city. 2 million people. Strong defenses. But our fleet was stronger. We surrounded the planet, cut off all supply lines, demanded surrender. And they refused, Kira said. They did more than refuse. They sent us a message. Just 2 words. Come and take it. Vextai leaned forward. So you did. We tried. First assault was massive. 5,000 troops. Air support, artillery. We thought we would take the city in one day. What happened? Zorthak closed his eyes. The humans had turned the entire city into a weapon. Every building was a fortress. Every street was a trap. Every sewer was a highway for their soldiers. He opened his eyes and looked at Kira. You trained them, didn't you? Taught them how to use their home against us. I helped, Kira admitted. But most of it was their idea. Humans are very good at adapting their environment. The children were the worst part, Zorthak said suddenly. Children? Vextai asked, human young, some as small as 10 years old. They knew the city better than anyone. They moved through air vents and underground tunnels. They carried messages. They planted bombs. They watched us and reported our movements. Zorthak's hands clenched into fists. How do you fight an enemy that uses children as spies? How do you attack a position when you know there might be innocents inside? You don't, Kira said simply. That's the point. We tried to avoid civilian casualties, Zorthak continued. Our rules of engagement were clear. Protect non-combatants. But how do you tell the difference when a 12-year-old human can kill you with a homemade bomb? So what did you do? Kira asked. We adapted, started treating all humans as potential threats. But that just made them fight harder. Every civilian we captured had information. Every building we took was booby-trapped. Every victory cost us more than it should have. Vexatai pulled up a tactical display. The reports say you took the city in 3 weeks. We took empty buildings, Zorthak corrected. The humans abandoned the outer districts after 2 weeks. Fell back to the city center. We thought we were winning. But you weren't, Kira said. No, they were drawing us in, making us stretch our forces. Every block we captured required soldiers to hold it. Every building needed to be cleared and secured. And the humans just kept falling back, taking everything useful with them. Zorthak stood up and started pacing. By the 4th week, we were holding territory, but we weren't controlling it. Humans would come back at night, retake buildings, kill our guards, disappear before morning. Urban warfare, Kira nodded. The city becomes an ally to whoever knows it better. They knew every pipe, every wire, every hidden passage. They could move around the city like ghosts. We never knew where they would strike next. Vextai looked confused. But you won. The city fell. The city died, Zorthak said. There's a difference. Explain. Week 5, the humans stopped fighting for territory. They started fighting to make sure we couldn't use anything we captured. Power plants became bombs. Water treatment facilities became poison gas factories. Communication towers became weapons that killed anyone who tried to use them. Zorthak's voice got quieter. They were willing to destroy their own city rather than let us have it. Because it wasn't just a city, Kira said. It was their home. And if they couldn't have it, they made sure no one could. Week 6, we realized what they were planning. The humans had wired the entire city center with explosives. They were going to bring down every building at once. Kill everyone inside, including their own people. Did they tell you this? Vextai asked. They didn't need to. We found the explosives, miles of wiring, tons of charges, enough to level half the city. Zorthak stopped pacing and looked directly at Kira. We offered them terms. Safe passage for all civilians, food and medical care for the wounded. All they had to do was surrender, and they asked for 1 hour to consider our offer. At the end of that hour, they sent us a new message. Thank you for the warning. We have evacuated the children. The room went silent. Vextai felt his blood turn cold. They were going to blow up the city anyway. Not the city, Zorthak said. Us. They had filled the entire area with explosives and lured us into the center of it. The evacuation wasn't to save their city. It was to save their children before they turned the whole place into a bomb. How many soldiers did you lose? Kira asked. 3,000. Half our ground forces. Gone in an instant. And the humans? 12,000 civilians chose to die rather than surrender. They stayed in the city center and triggered the bombs themselves. Vextai couldn't breathe. 12,000 people. Killed themselves just to hurt us. They didn't kill themselves to hurt you, Kira said. They killed themselves to send a message. To every other human world, to show that death was better than surrender. What message? Vextai asked. That humans will never stop fighting. That you can defeat our armies, but you can't defeat our spirit. That every victory will cost you more than you can afford. Zorthak sat down again. His hands were shaking worse now. After New Geneva, recruitment for ground forces dropped by 60%. Soldiers were requesting transfers to deep space assignments. No one wanted to fight humans anymore. Because you realized something, Kira said. What? That you're not fighting soldiers. You're fighting an entire species. Every human. Every child. Every civilian. All of them willing to die rather than live under your rule. It's insane, Zorthak whispered. No, Kira said firmly. It's human. There's a difference. How can you defend what they did? Vextai demanded. They murdered thousands of their own people. They saved thousands more. Every human world that heard about New Geneva knew what to expect from your empire. They knew that surrender meant slavery, so they prepared to fight. Kira looked at both officers. New Geneva wasn't a defeat. It was a recruiting poster. It told every human in the galaxy exactly what kind of war this was going to be. A war we cannot win, Zorthak said quietly. Why? Vextai asked. We have superior technology, better ships, more soldiers. Because we're fighting the wrong war, Zorthak answered. We're trying to conquer them. They're trying to survive, and survival makes people do impossible things. The lights flickered again. This time they went out completely for several seconds. Emergency power kicked in, casting the room in red light. System malfunction, Vextai said, but he didn't sound convinced. When the lights came back on, Kira was smiling. Are you sure about that? Zorthak looked at her with something like recognition. You're not just any prisoner, are you? What do you mean? I've heard stories about a human special forces operator, someone who trained resistance fighters, someone who turned civilians into guerrilla soldiers. They called her the Ghost. Kira's smile got wider. That's a nice nickname. The Ghost was supposed to be dead, killed at the Battle of Proxima Station. Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. Vextai stood up quickly. If you're this ghost person, why did you let us capture you? Who says I let you do anything? Kira asked. The same words she had used before, but now they sounded different. More dangerous. Zorthak was backing toward the door. We need to leave now. Why? Vextai asked. Because if she's really the ghost, then this isn't an interrogation. It's a trap. The lights went out again. This time they stayed out. The lights came back on to show Admiral Kreeth standing in the interrogation room. He had not been there a moment before. The most powerful military leader in the Zephyrian fleet stood 7 feet tall. His red and gold scales marked him as nobility. His forearms crossed in a gesture of controlled anger. Commander Vextai, the Admiral said. His voice was like grinding metal. You will explain why my fleet is being defeated by primitives. Vextai jumped to attention. Admiral, I did not know you were coming aboard. I came because I am tired of failure. 3 months of war, 6 major battles. Each one costs us more ships and soldiers than it should. Meanwhile, human resistance grows stronger. Admiral Kreeth looked at Kira with obvious disgust. This creature will tell us how to defeat her species, or she will die slowly. Kira looked up at the massive alien without fear. Hello, Admiral. I've been hoping to meet you. You know who I am? Of course. Admiral Kreeth, Supreme Commander of the Invasion Fleet, winner of the Battle of Vegan Prime, conqueror of the Andretti system. Your reputation precedes you. The Admiral seemed pleased by the recognition. Then you know that resistance is futile. Tell me how to break human morale and I will grant you a quick death. Break human morale? Kira laughed. Admiral, you don't understand humans at all. Explain. Kira leaned back in her chair. The energy restraints flickered as she moved but held. You think morale is something that can be broken, like a piece of equipment. But human morale doesn't work that way. How does it work? It gets stronger when we're threatened. Every defeat makes us more determined. Every loss makes us fight harder. You're not breaking our morale. You're feeding it. Admiral Kreeth's forearms uncrossed. 2 of them moved to the weapons on his belt. Impossible. All species break when faced with superior force. All species except humans, Kira said calmly. We're the only predator species that became intelligent while remaining predators. Do you know what that means? Tell me. It means we never learned to submit. Every other intelligent species in the galaxy evolved from prey animals. When threatened, their instinct is to hide or surrender. Our instinct is to attack. Vextai stepped forward. Admiral, I believe she is trying to manipulate us with psychological warfare. Let her talk, Kreeth said. I want to understand this enemy. Kira nodded to Vextai. Your commander is smart. I am using psychological warfare. But I'm not lying. Everything I'm telling you is true. Continue, the Admiral ordered. Your people fight like chess masters, Kira said. You make careful plans. You follow rules. You expect your enemies to do the same. That works against civilized species. And humans are not civilized. We're civilized. But we're also still predators. When you corner us, we don't surrender. We adapt, we improvise. We become unpredictable. Kira looked around the room. Tell me, Admiral, in your 3 months of fighting us, how many times have human forces done exactly what your strategists predicted? Kreeth was quiet for a moment. Our predictions have been less accurate than usual. That's because you're trying to fight us like you fought other species. But we're not like other species. We don't follow your rules. Give me an example. Kepler Station. Your plan was simple. Overwhelming force. Quick victory. But the humans turned a mining facility into a fortress. They used civilian equipment as weapons. They sacrificed themselves to kill your soldiers. Kira's voice got harder. No other species would have done that. They would have surrendered when faced with impossible odds. Humans decided that dying free was better than living as slaves. Irrationality, Admiral Kreeth said. Primitive thinking, is it? Let me ask you something. How many Zephyrian worlds have rebelled against your empire? None. Rebellion is illogical when resistance is impossible. Exactly. Your subject species are logical. They accept defeat when it's inevitable. But humans don't accept anything. We keep fighting even when we know we'll lose. Kira leaned forward. Admiral, you've conquered 47 worlds. How many of them still require occupation forces? Kreeth looked uncomfortable. Some populations require ongoing supervision. How many? 17 worlds still have significant Zephyrian garrisons. And how many human worlds will require garrisons after you conquer them? The question hung in the air. Vexed, I realized what she was suggesting. All of them. Every single one, Kira confirmed. Every human world you take will need permanent occupation. Thousands of soldiers per planet, ships, resources, all dedicated to keeping humans from doing what humans do best. Which is? Fighting back. Admiral Kreeth's scales shifted from red to darker purple, a sign of anger in Zephyrian biology. You are saying the war cannot be won. I'm saying you're fighting the wrong war. You want to conquer territory. We want to protect our families. Those are completely different objectives. Explain the difference. When you fight for territory, you can lose some battles and still win the war. You have backup plans, exit strategies, acceptable losses. Kira's brown eyes fixed on the Admiral. When you fight for family, there is no acceptable loss. There is no surrender. There is no backup plan. There is only victory or death. Humans have families on many worlds, Vextai said slowly. If we threaten those families, you make every human in the galaxy into a soldier, Kira finished. Congratulations. You just turned a war against human military forces into a war against the entire human species. The room was quiet, except for the hum of ship systems. Admiral Kreeth walked to the wall display and pulled up tactical maps. Dozens of star systems showed human and Zephyrian positions. Our intelligence says human military forces are outnumbered 10 to 1. Your intelligence is looking at the wrong numbers, Kira said. You're counting soldiers. You should be counting humans. What do you mean? Every human civilian is a potential resistance fighter. Every human child will grow up hating your empire. Every human parent will teach their children to fight. You're not just fighting our armies. You're fighting our entire species. Admiral Kreeth turned back to face her. Then we will destroy your entire species. Will you? Kira asked. You've been trying for 3 months. How's that working out? The Admiral's 4 hands clenched into fists. We have barely begun to use our full military power. And we have barely begun to show you what humans can do when we're really threatened. Something in her tone made all 3 Zephyrians step back. Kira was still sitting calmly in her chair, still bound by energy restraints. But suddenly she seemed more dangerous than before. You want to know about human savagery? She asked. Here's what you need to understand. Everything you've seen so far, every battle, every resistance, every sacrifice, that's humans being restrained. Restrained? We've been following the rules of civilized warfare, protecting civilians, avoiding war crimes, fighting with honor. But if you threaten to destroy our entire species, Kira's smile was cold as winter. We'll stop being civilized. The lights went out again. When they came back on a few seconds later, Kira's restraints were glowing brighter. But somehow she looked less restrained than before. Admiral, she said softly, you should know something. I didn't let you capture me by accident. What do you mean? I mean I've been exactly where I wanted to be for the past 3 days. In the heart of your command ship. Learning your routines, studying your defenses, listening to your communications. Vextai reached for his weapon. That's impossible. You've been under constant surveillance. Have I? Kira asked. Or have I been exactly where I needed to be to gather the intelligence my people require? Admiral Kreeth drew his sidearm. You are a prisoner. Nothing more. Am I? Tell me, Admiral, in the past 3 days, have any of your long-range sensors detected anything unusual? Kreeth's expression changed. What do you know about our sensors? I know they're very good. I also know they can be fooled if you know how to do it. The Admiral was already moving toward the door. Security alert. All stations report status immediately. Too late, Kira said quietly. The ship's alarms began to wail. The alarms screamed through the ship like wounded animals. Red emergency lights bathed the interrogation room in bloody shadows. Admiral Kreeth was shouting orders into his communication device, but only static answered back. Communication systems are down, he snarled. How is this possible? Kira stood up. Her energy restraints flickered once, then died completely. The metal bands fell from her wrists with soft clanks on the floor. Because I've had 3 days to study your ship, she said calmly. 3 days to learn every system, every weakness, every way to turn your own technology against you. Vexatai drew his weapon. You will return to restraints immediately. Will I? Kira stretched her arms above her head like someone waking from a long sleep. Tell me, Commander, what do you think I've been doing while you thought I was your prisoner, sitting in a cell, under guard, under surveillance? I've been broadcasting everything to my people. Every conversation, every tactical display you showed me, every detail about your ship's layout, your security protocols, your command structure. Admiral Kreeth spun around. Impossible. Our security systems would detect any transmission. Your security systems are designed to detect Zephyrian technology. They're not designed to detect quantum transmitters grown from organic compounds and hidden in dental work. Kira touched her back teeth with one finger. Amazing what human scientists can do with a little creativity. The ship shuddered. The vibration was followed by distant explosions. Emergency lighting flickered as power systems struggled to compensate for damage. We're under attack, Admiral Kreeth said. But our sensors showed no enemy ships. Your sensors showed no ships because you weren't looking for the right things. Human stealth technology works differently than yours. Another explosion closer this time. The floor tilted slightly as the ship's artificial gravity compensated for damage. What do you want? Vextai demanded. Originally? Just intelligence. I needed to understand how your command structure worked. How your officers thought. How your technology functioned. Kira walked to the tactical display on the wall. She touched the screen and star maps appeared. Red dots showed Zephyrian fleet positions. Blue dots showed human forces. But then you brought me exactly what I needed most. Testimony from your soldiers about how humans fight. Proof that your forces are breaking under psychological pressure. Evidence that this war is costing you more than you can afford. You recorded everything, Vextai realized. Every word, every detail, every moment of fear in your soldiers' voices when they talked about fighting humans. Kira turned to face them. Do you know what my people will do with those recordings? Tell us, Admiral Kreeth said. They'll broadcast them throughout the galaxy. Every species under Zephyrian rule will hear your elite soldiers describing how humans turned miners into warriors. How civilians became suicide bombers. How an entire city chose death over surrender. The ship shook again. This time the lights went out for almost 10 seconds before backup power restored them. Your empire rules through fear, Kira continued. Fear of your military might. Fear of the consequences of rebellion. But what happens when other species realize that humans are fighting you to a standstill? They would not dare rebel, Kreeth said. The cost would be too high. Would it? You told me yourself that 17 worlds still require occupation forces. What happens when those worlds realize you're fighting a war you can't win? What happens when they understand that humans are proving the Zephyrian Empire is not invincible? Vextai felt cold understanding wash over him. They would revolt. All of them, simultaneously, while your fleet is busy fighting humans. While your best soldiers are dead or broken from fighting a species that refuses to surrender. Kira walked to the door. It should have been locked, but it opened at her approach. You want to know about human savagery? Here's the truth. We're not savage because we enjoy violence. We're savage because we understand consequences. What consequences? Admiral Kreeth asked. If we lose this war, humanity dies. Every human world becomes a slave colony. Every human child grows up in chains. Every human family is broken apart for the convenience of your empire. Kira stepped into the hallway. So we do whatever it takes to prevent that. We turn miners into soldiers. We turn cities into bombs. We turn captured prisoners into intelligence assets. She looked back at the 3 Zephyrians, and when necessary, we turn ourselves into weapons. The ship's internal defenses should have stopped her. Force fields should have activated. Security doors should have sealed. But nothing happened. Kira walked down the hallway like she owned the ship. How? Vextai called after her. Quantum transmitters work both ways, she answered without turning around. I've been sending intelligence out for 3 days. But I've also been receiving updates, including detailed plans for taking this ship. Admiral Kreeth activated his personal communicator. All security teams to detention level 7. Prisoner escape in progress, Static answered him. Your internal communications have been compromised, Kira said. along with your weapon systems, your navigation, and your life support controls. She stopped at an intersection of corridors. Tell me, Admiral, what do you think happens when a Zephyrian command ship falls to human forces? It cannot happen. The ship has 5,000 crew members, elite soldiers, the best defenses in the fleet, and 23 human special forces operatives who have been waiting for my signal. Kreeth's scales turned pale yellow. 23 soldiers cannot take a ship this size. You're right. 23 soldiers can't take a ship this size, but 23 humans can. Explosions echoed through the ship. Closer now. The artificial gravity fluctuated, making everyone stumble. The difference, Kira explained, is that soldiers follow rules. Humans adapt. Soldiers have limits. Humans don't. She pressed something on the wall panel. A section of the corridor wall slid away, revealing a maintenance shaft. For example, she continued, soldiers would never crawl through waste disposal systems to reach critical ship functions. Humans don't care how unpleasant the job is if it needs to be done. Alarm klaxons joined the wailing sirens. A computer voice announced in Zephyrian, hull breach on levels 4 through 7. Emergency containment failing. Your people built this ship to fight other civilized species, Kira said. Species that attack from outside. You never considered what would happen if the enemy got inside and started taking apart your ship from within. She started to climb into the maintenance shaft, then paused. Oh, and Admiral? You should know that this isn't the only Zephyrian ship with human operatives aboard. What do you mean? I mean you've been so focused on fighting our fleet that you never noticed humans infiltrating your fleet. We've had people inside your ships for weeks, watching, learning, waiting for the right moment. Admiral Kreeth ran toward the nearest communication station. Emergency Fleet Command. All ships report status immediately. The speakers crackled with voices, confusion, panic, reports of sabotage and system failures throughout the fleet. Impossible. Kreeth whispered. Admiral, Vextai said quietly, we need to get to the escape pods. But when they looked back, Kira was gone. The maintenance shaft was empty. Somewhere in the distance, they could hear human voices, speaking in calm professional tones, coordinating an attack from inside the ship they were supposed to be prisoners on. Commander, Captain Zorthak said. His voice shook with something beyond fear.
What have we done?
Vextai understood what he meant. They had not captured a human prisoner. They had invited a human weapon aboard their most important ship. They had given her access to their most classified information. They had allowed her to broadcast their weaknesses to every enemy of the Empire. The ship shuddered one final time. Then the artificial gravity failed completely. As the three Zephyrians floated helplessly in the corridor, they could hear the sound of human laughter echoing through the ventilation system. And in that laughter, they finally understood what human savagery really meant. It was not mindless violence. It was intelligent, creative, unstoppable determination to protect what they loved, no matter the cost. No matter the odds. No matter what rules had to be broken to achieve victory. The lights went out. In the darkness, Admiral Kreeth realized that the Zephyrian Empire had not been fighting a war of conquest. They had been fighting a war of survival. And they were losing. The last thing he heard before unconsciousness took him was a human voice over the ship's communication system. Calm, professional, victorious. This is Sergeant Kira. Blackwood to all human forces. The command ship is secure. Begin Phase 2 of the operation. In the blackness of space around them, human ships decloaked like predators emerging from tall grass. The hunt was over. Now came the real war.